Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Andrew Laidley. The private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, is throwing its support behind the government's latest crime bill. In a statement to the media today, the PSOJ said it's pleased that despite the constructive criticisms, there's a general agreement that the new bills are necessary in order to address the crime scourge which has been plaguing the country. The PSOJ said it was also in agreement with Prime Minister Andrew Holness that the special zone operations must be executed in a manner that protects the rights of citizens and must be supported by long-term sustainable solutions. The organization said crime is by far the #1 challenge affecting businesses and living conditions in Jamaica today and must be given attention needed. Former President and CEO of the Jamaica Public Service, JPS Kelly Tomlin, says although much work has been done to transform the company, she regrets not doing more to reduce the bureaucracy. She was speaking in an exclusive BATV interview over the weekend. Anthony Morgan reports.
Kelly Tomlin said she wished she had done more while at the head of the JPS to rid the company of its high level of bureaucracy.
I think I've mentioned it a couple of times. I wish I had eliminated the bureaucracy. There's still a lot of bureaucracy embedded in JPS. I'd signed too many documents. There's too many hindrances to being creative and innovative. I think that's a trust factor. You know, a lot of controls are built in. So I think a bigger regret is really not coming away with a less bureaucratic company. We've done a lot to give people freedom, but I wish I would have done more.
However, one thing the former JPS head said she got right was empowering Jamaican female entrepreneurs. Kelly Tomlin said she's happy to have started a Women in Energy group in a male-dominated industry.
So many people have joined in. So many people. I was just in Mobay on Sunday, about 100 people, women in and of energy associated there. So while I found it, like I find it everywhere, that there are more of men than there are women usually around the table, I did find, again, a thirst for women here to be in community. And once you get a tribe going, you don't feel alone.
In the meantime, Ms. Tomlin said she will be keeping an eye out to see the continued development and diversification of the energy sector in Jamaica.
I will be watching from afar, making sure that an energy revolution continues and the growth and prosperity of Jamaica is ensured. You are getting the best team ever. I leave them here for you. Be nice to them because believe you me, there's not more committed and talented people in the world than those that live in JPS.
For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
Red Stripe will be engaging an additional 200 farmers to cultivate cassava under its Project Grow initiative. This new crop of farmers will add to the 100 who've already been contracted by the company to grow the cassava as a source of raw material to substitute for the imported high maltose corn syrup used in the production of Red Stripe beer. The farmers under contract are from St. Elizabeth, St. Catherine, St. Anne, St. Thomas, St. Mary, Clarendon, and Manchester. Red Stripe is looking to replace 40% of maltose syrup by 2020 and already has more than 2,000 acres of land under cassava production. Red Stripe has signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with the United States Agency for International Development funded Jamaica Rural Economy and Ecosystems Adapting to Climate Change 2 JA Reach 2 project to provide technical assistance to boost commercial cassava production. Under the agreement, JA Reach 2 will provide support in refining research and training programs, delivering farmer training, collaborating with local partners to implement research and field trials to identify high-yielding drought-tolerant cassava varieties, propagate high-yielding planting materials, and identify and test complementary crops for intercropping and rotation. The government is looking at establishing an agroeconomic zone in Hanover to assist farmers with marketing their produce. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, J.C. Hutchinson, says the zone will enable farmers in Hanover, Westmoreland and St. James to have a ready market for their produce. Mr. Hutchinson was speaking at a handover ceremony for a $27 million honey extraction and bottling facility in Hanover recently. He pointed out that the agroeconomic zone will consist of a complex that will have facilities where grading, packaging, processing, and drying will be carried out. It's also expected to house a cold storage facility. Mr. Hutchinson pointed out that everything the farmers grow will be marketed. It will be taken to the agroeconomic zone where it will be graded. He said grade A produce will go to the hotels and export market, and grade B to the local market. Mr. Hutchinson added that the grade C produce, which is usually left in the field to spoil, will instead be processed into puree and juice. This puree or juice will then go directly into a school breakfast program for all secondary and primary schools, which the government intends to put in place by next year. Mr. Hutchinson noted as well that a private investor has already come on board to partner with the government to get the agroeconomic zone underway. Meanwhile, the honey extraction and bottling facility was handed over to the Hanover Bee Farmers Cooperative Society by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF. That facility will assist members of the cooperative as well as bee farmers in adjoining parishes to improve market access and increase their earnings from the sale of honey. Minister of Finance and the Public Service Audley Shaw is reporting an increase in property tax collections for the first quarter of 2017-18. Some $3.7 billion were collected between April and June. The figure is $400 million higher than the $3.3 billion raked in for the same period of 2016-17, when the county collected a record $7.62 billion in the property taxes. Minister Shaw, who was addressing an appreciation launch for the All-Island Property Tax Team held at the Hilton Rose Hall Hotel in Montego Bay on Friday, commended the members for their efforts in enabling the government to achieve the highest level of collection in property taxes ever recorded in Jamaica's history. He also hailed property owners who paid their taxes in 2007-08. The government collected $1.85 billion in property taxes, and in 2008 to 2009, it went up to almost $2.3 billion. There was a decline in 2009-2010 to $1.8 billion, and in 2012-2013, collections climbed to $2.3 billion. By 2013-2014, it closed at $5.8 billion. In 2016-2017, collections stood at $7.4 billion. Meanwhile, Commissioner General of Tax Administration of Jamaica, Ainsley Powell, also praised the property tax team. The TAJ Commissioner noted that the collection target of 2017-2018 has increased to $9.6 billion. And still to come, Mitri Siaga gives special economic zone stakeholders an ultimatum. The full detail after the break. Welcome back. Chairman of the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, Mitri Siaga, says if the work of the authority is not supported, then he will step down. He was a guest on BATV's latest edition of On Point. Nordia Francis Williams reports.
Jamaica is hoping to learn a lot from Singapore about implementing successful special economic zones. Chairman of the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, Mitri Siaga, says following training from a group out of Singapore, it should take some 12 months to have a framework set up to implement the economic zones in Jamaica.
We have a team scheduled to come here before the end of August, so that's within a month. Those workshops will take probably about 30 days to complete, because we have different people from different areas coming. Then we'll move to the next level of trying to get them to develop a roadmap for us to go from where we are now. So what they're doing is they're setting the framework for us, the development. So they're dealing with education. They're going into HART, they're going into the Ministry of Education, going to help us to develop programs that will put us on the right footing to be able to get these economic zones.
He points out that the Prime Minister will be updated monthly on the progress of the SEZ authority.
The minister that I report to is the Prime Minister, and every month from here on in, he'll be getting a report of every single company that we have engaged and every single dollar of investment that we have brought to the table and every single person that we have employed on a full or part-time basis. So hopefully he'll be able to make that public, and we will see the effect of the special economic
And will we have...
He therefore wants all hands on deck and is threatening to leave if the required support is not received from all stakeholders.
We will be keeping the public abreast of what we're doing, where we're going. And interviews like this, I'm always accessible. We'll make you know what's happening. And Dennis, I'm not willing to be a part of it if we don't get the buy-in from the very top and we don't get the buy-in at the level of the agencies. It's not going to work. It would not make sense for us to continue. Better we just keep on doing what we're doing and don't cost the government and the country any more money.
And ourselves.
And ourselves at that rate.
For BATV News, I'm Norda Francis Williams.
Chairman of Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, Senator Don Webby, says there needs to be more exports and Jamaican producers need to get better at tapping into external markets for economic growth to be sustained. Senator Webby, who is also Chief Executive Officer of the Grace Kennedy Group, adds that the agency is in 2 years of an export strategy to achieve 15% growth in exports per annum, with export goods valued at $2.5 billion by 2020. He notes that although there is a 5% fall in exports, the plan is still on track. The chairman was addressing an awards banquet hosted by the Jamaica Exporters Association in Kingston over the weekend. He called on all relevant agencies to give appropriate focus in the implementation of the export strategy in order for it to work. He said the current national export strategy continues to be relevant to the immediate needs of the export sector and can help Jamaica realize significant growth. Meanwhile, Management Control Systems was crowned Champion Exporter of the Year. The company's Assistant General Manager, William DeWar, said it is a reward for work that they have been doing. The company now exports to 19 countries in the region. Minister of Labour and Social Security Shahini Robinson says transformation of the labour market is crucial for the government's economic growth program. She said the reform process seeks to achieve greater levels of efficiency, equity, growth, social justice, full and satisfying employment, as well as high levels of production and productivity. While delivering the keynote address at the end of Project Forum for the Labour Market Reform Commission recently, Mrs. Robinson said the forum is aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals of Vision 2030, which seeks to make Jamaica a place of choice for business to reside. The minister said the labour market transformation is well placed in the government's current medium-term economic framework and is in keeping with the International Labour Organization's Decent Work Agenda. She said the program will also strengthen the ministry's mandate for human capital development, empowerment of vulnerable groups, and incorporating more Jamaicans in the development process. The Labour Market Reform Commission was established in 2015 with a mandate to ensure that the country's labour market structure, regulations, policies, programs, and projects become compatible with modern practices in order to improve productivity and economic growth. There's a call this evening for Jamaican employers to invest more in workplace wellness programs. Medical practitioner Dr. Johan White says workplace wellness is crucial to the growth of firms in Jamaica. He says employee wellness, though often overlooked, plays a big part in the productive outturn. Here's more. Dr. White says the guidelines for proper workplace wellness management is not fully developed in Jamaica, but that could change in the near future.
Workplace wellness, or the more formal term for it is occupational health, is a well-developed field. There's a lot of research on best practices in the workplace, the strategies for promoting health in the workplace, and that also impact life outside of a workplace setting. Whereas in Jamaica, for example, there's only been recent efforts over the past few years to have, for example, a law that addresses, workplace wellness or safety and health issues for employees, for example, and that law is still, in the process of being formalized.
The medical doctor says it's important that employees get regular feedback on the challenges their employees face in an effort to create a better work environment.
It's a real challenge in the workplace. It's a real challenge in life. And a lot of it is related to stress. But a good or an effective workplace wellness program will have already thought about the needs, whether the stress levels in the organization or a particular unit. So by getting feedback from your employees about the challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis, if you truly do make the effort to engage your employees, then you'll get that feedback about the stressors that they face.
He says research has proven that the benefits from spending on workplace wellness is far-reaching and will redound to the organization's benefit.
Many organizations, as is the reality, will be concerned primarily about the money that these programs cost. But the evidence is clear that, for example, programs in the United States, for example, or companies that have won some kind of award or recognition for their workplace wellness programs and best practices actually perform better in terms of the stock valuation and dividends returns for their investors. So there's clear scientific evidence in publications that track the numbers that demonstrate that companies who have comprehensive programs leading to some form of recognition, either by a professional body or a state agency, for example, for their programs, actually do better.
For BATV News, I'm Andrew Laidley. Stay with us. Regional and international stories are next. Welcome back. It's time now for regional and international news. There's a new airline in the region's skies. Trans-Island Air TIA will start chartered service between Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Dominica later this year. The Barbados-based airline will also offer private chartered services to 15 Caribbean destinations within a radius of 800 miles. The airline said it hoped to take advantage of the fact that there are more seats into St. Lucia's International Airport direct from the United States than any other airport in the sub-region. Meanwhile, Trans-Island Air has described itself as a revolutionized schedule and private charter aviation company with a vision to provide a relaxing, reliable, and flexible flight experience. The world might be heading for an oil supply shortage following a steep drop in investments and a lack of fresh conventional discoveries. According to Saudi Aramco's chief executive, as Pascal Davis reports, Amin Nasser told a conference in Istanbul it's premature to assume unconventional shale oil and alternative energy resources can be developed quickly to replace oil and gas.
The world might be heading for a shortage of oil. That's the warning from the boss of Saudi Aramco, the world's biggest crude producer. Chief Executive Amin Nasser says low prices for the fuel have slashed investment in exploration and production. He said on Monday, if we look at the long-term situation of oil supplies, the picture is becoming increasingly worrying. Investments in smaller increments such as shale oil will just not cut it. His comments coming at the World Petroleum Congress in Istanbul.
He said around $1 trillion of oil money hadn't been invested over the past 3 years since oil prices have been falling, and this is leading to a situation where companies aren't spending the money that is needed to recover more resources of oil and gas, and hence leading to a situation where the market is actually becoming undersupplied.
Benchmark prices down again on Monday after sharp falls last week. Brent crude now almost a fifth lower than it was at the start of the year. That despite fresh moves by OPEC to limit output. The producers' cartel saying Monday that Nigeria and Libya may join existing efforts to cap production. They've been invited to a July 24 meeting of major oil nations in Russia.
Africa is abundant in gemstones with about 1,900 gem variations, but limited government support for small-scale miners means millions are lost through smuggling and investors remain cautious due to poor legislation. Sarah Lee reports on Kenya's plans to make the sector a more substantial revenue earner.
Blue sapphire, aquamarine and rubies, just some of the precious gems mined in Kenya. Most sell off their finds in uncut forms, but the government has a plan to boost their value, exporting the finished product instead. It's opened a new centre in the south of the country which will enable the cutting and polishing of stones ready for export, and at the same time growing the sector and creating jobs.
This act is set to promote mining as an all-inclusive sector, hence promoting the standard of living of Kenyans, especially those in mineral-rich communities. As under it, mining resources are distributed fairly by the national government, and we've put this in law.
The announcement came as the country hosted its first gem and jewellery trade fair, attracting investors, miners and buyers from around the world. The number of artisanal miners in Africa stood at 30 million in 2016, up from around 10 million 15 years ago. But Kenya's mining sector is a relatively small contributor to national output, accounting for less than 1%.
If the government supports us and continues holding these events to educate us and link us with investors and buyers, this will really help the sector grow.
Millions of gems have been lost through smuggling over the years, and poor legislation has left investors cautious. The government is hoping this fresh support will help get more small-scale miners licensed and in return put an extra shine in Kenya's economy.
Global sewage and water treatment firms are eyeing opportunities in an unsavory place, a growing pile of waste in China, the world's most populous nation. Grace Lee reports.
There may be a golden opportunity here in China's gutters, solving a multi-billion-dollar problem the world's most populous nation is choking on: sewage. A mixture of fertilizer runoff, heavy metals, and untreated wastewater has concocted a toxic stew that China's been battling against for years. A 2015 survey showed nearly 2/3 of its underground water and 1/3 of its surface water has become unfit for human contact. And the biggest problem isn't with the cities like Beijing and Shanghai, but the countryside, where there's an overwhelming lack of sanitation infrastructure. That's where devices like this come in. They're small-scale sewage treatment units designed by an Israeli company that can scrub about 20,000 liters a day. They can be set up quickly and don't eat up much power, making them ideal for the countryside, a critical target in China's 5-year plan to tackle pollution. New laws from Beijing are forcing local officials to take charge of their sewage, making them directly responsible for cleaning up. That could open the floodgates to more companies looking to snap up a share, as experts say China will spend about $400 billion in the next 5 years.
Talking Stocks is after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for Talking Stocks. 39 stocks traded today, of which 18 advanced, 16 declined, and 5 traded firm. The main JSE index advanced by 1,155 points to close at 233,168. The junior index declined by 19 points to close at 2,979. Over 4 million units traded, valued at over $88 million on the Jamaican dollar market. And on the US dollar market, over 62,000 units traded, valued at more than $13,000 US. Jamaica Broilers Group, with over 3 million units changing hands, accounted for 77% of market volume. Kingston Wharves was second with 177,000 units trading. Cable and Wireless accounted for 177,000 units, amounting to 2% of the market volume, crossing the floor. Sagicor Real Estate X Fund was the top advancer, up $1.77 to close at $13.80. Followed by T-Tech, up $1.27 to close at $10, and Dolphin Cove, up $1.75 to close at $20. The main decliners were Cable and Wireless, down 8 cents to close at $1, followed by Lasco Manufacturing, losing 25 cents to close at $4.37, and Caribbean Cement Company, down $1.33 to close at $24.15. And that's all the news we have for this evening, but before we go, a recap of our top story. The private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, is throwing its support behind the government's latest crime bill. Thanks for watching. For more content, visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Andrew Laidley. Pleasant viewing.